Hey, Who Dat Nation, Bayou Blitz halftime show, Saints News Network halftime show. Myself, Brendan Boylan, alongside my partner in crime, Bob Rose. The New Orleans Saints trail 19-17 at the half, the second consecutive week that a fumble late in the first half leads to points and bites New Orleans in the butt. However, Seattle did miss the extra point, so it is a 2-point game opposed to a 3-point game. Seattle will start the second half with the football. Just to run through some numbers for you guys, Andy Dalton is 9 of 13 for 88 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked once. Alvin Kamara, the Saints' leading rusher, 10 carries for 50 yards, did have the fumble at the end of the first half. Chris Olave, the Saints' leading receiver, he's got 3 receptions for 38 yards. And, of course, Taysom Hill has found the end zone twice today. Fun fact, Taysom Hill, third in the league in rushing touchdowns this season. He has been a bright spot for a Saints team that has really lacked some offense. However, Bob, this is a Saints team that scored 14 points in the second quarter. Remember, last week was the first time all season they'd scored points in the second quarter. Defense had a pretty strong second quarter until the last 5 minutes. Where are your initial thoughts and analysis of the first half for New Orleans?
First of all, bad teams make bad mistakes. And that's what we're looking at right now, folks. The New Orleans Saints are a bad team. The Seattle Seahawks, when you compare the talent on the paper, the Seattle Seahawks shouldn't even be on the same field with these guys right now. But continued self-inflicted mistakes. We've seen, knock on wood, we've seen the Saints avoid penalties fairly well. But blown coverages, safeties playing out of position, which has been a major problem in the first half. And continuing to not hold on to the football. I got no words. I got no words that I can say on the air about the performance of this team. On the positives, you're right. The Saints defense, vastly outplayed Seattle, especially through the second quarter. 2 blown coverages on the Seahawks opening touchdown pass, right up the middle, against a team that is missing 2 safeties in Marcus May and PJ Williams. And then, obviously the touchdown pass to Lockett, where not only a Debo was beat, but, JT Gray inexplicably took an outside coverage position when his cornerback was clearly funneling the receiver to the inside. That's why JT Gray is special teams, ladies and gentlemen. Pass protection. Andy Dalton has only been sacked 1 time, but he has been under absolute siege. The Seahawks, and what opponent wouldn't? The Seahawks are bringing extra rushers over both guards and having great success with it. But if you're going to look at the positive side, that guy wearing number 41, with the Kamara name on the back of his jersey, he's had a couple of nice runs. And, the Saints offensive line, while still struggling in pass protection to deal with those extra pass rushers, they are run blocking pretty well. So since this is a close game, if New Orleans can stop Seattle on their opening drive in the second half, the Saints are still very much in this. But they have to actually show a little bit of heart to play and win this game.
Well, this is a team that we mentioned in the pregame show is leading the league in turning the ball over. They're leading the league in penalties. And still, like you said, Bob, not a whole lot of penalties, but you continue to turn the ball over. You're first in the league in terms of 3 and outs. This is a Saints offense that's not made it easy for a defense that has had some moments throughout the year. And like we said in the second quarter, certainly had some strong moments. Let's talk about this on more of a happy note, more of a funny note. Have you ever seen a miscommunication like the Seahawks had on that punt? Because it seemed like the punter was ready to take off and go for a first down, but that didn't seem to be the play call there, Bob.
I haven't. I only see that kind of miscommunication, in that area of the field, in high school and, occasionally in college. But if you're the Saints, you'll take it. You are actually getting a pretty good rush on the punter anyway. Maybe that shook him up a little bit. Maybe he saw something, because remember the Vikings, were successful on a fake punt last week, excuse me. I have a hard time believing that Seattle came out with a fake punt call, especially when they had just been moved back 5 yards and they were deep in their own territory. But the Saints did a nice job at capitalizing, and turning that mistake into a touchdown.
Yeah, Taysom Hill recovered the fumble, scored the touchdown just a few plays later, seeing a little bit of resurgence out of the Swiss Army knife after not really knowing what his role was for a couple weeks. Looking at the stats for Seattle, Geno Smith, 8 of 13 for 166 and 2 touchdowns. Rashad Penny, the leading rusher for Seattle, 7 carries for 48 yards. Metcalf, still the leading receiver for Seattle. His only catch was the 50-yard touchdown. Again, the Saints trailed 19-17 at the half. Bob, looking into the second half, you mentioned the Saints have to come out and they have to stop Seattle on the opening drive. But offensively, outside of the Kamara fumble, what have you liked and what would you like to see continue or change in the second half?
I've liked the way New Orleans has run the ball offensively. Like I said, Kamara's had some nice gains. Taysom Hill, provides a spark, as he almost always does. You have to shore up that pass protection somehow. Maybe slide Troutman off of the line of scrimmage into like a hybrid H-back role, so he can peel back and provide an extra body for inside pass protection, because Olave is getting open. Dalton just can't get the time to set to get him the football. That's the only really real wide receiver that has gotten open for the Saints. That continues to be a disappointment. But listen, the team brought in Jarvis Landry, drafted Chris Olave because they knew what they had at wideout behind Michael Thomas, and that was nothing. Marquez Callaway has done little. Traquan Smith, has done little outside of that one catch that was nullified by a penalty. And it now looks like the artist formerly known as Deontay Hardy is going to be out for the second half. So you got to. We saw a glimpse of getting Kamara involved in the passing game. You need to do that more, because I am convinced that once Kamara makes a couple of receptions, he gets a bounce in his step, just his whole game picks up. So, if you need to get the ball out of your hands quickly, do it on some quick hitches and quick slants to Olave. Do it on some quick wheel routes and, shots out of the backfield to Kamara. Something to get this passing offense rolling and to keep Andy Dalton from getting pummeled.
Over under that Keith Kirkwood in his return to New Orleans gets a touchdown grab in the second half.
I'll take under, because that's just the way the season is going. But if Keith Kirkwood can do it, I like Keith, by the way. If Keith Kirkwood could do it, I'll take points from anybody at this point.
Absolutely. Keith Kirkwood and I share same hometown of Neptune Township, New Jersey. So happy to see him back in the black and gold. Real quick, Bob, defensively, what would you like to see before we wrap up our halftime show?
I love the pressure that New Orleans is getting up front. I mean, Seattle's moving Geno Smith around, so it's going to be difficult to get a lot of sacks on him. You need to stop Rashad Penny from getting to the edge. The 2 big runs that Penny had, that's the way it happened. If you can keep him inside, New Orleans is winning those battles in the in the actual trenches. The safeties. Seattle is going to look to exploit the Saints safeties, so the defensive coaches, and there's 3 very good ones, so you would think they'd be able to do something. They need to do something to protect those safeties, tweak their coverage. And Tyrann Mathieu, I know you're making big money. Stop making business decisions. Get more physical. You used to be a physical player. Where are you?
Hey, Bob, this is a team that lacks that spark, that heart, that attitude of Saints teams of past. We'll see if they can turn it on in the second half. In the meantime, if you don't already, go ahead and follow the Bayou Blitz on Twitter at Bayou Blitz Pod. Follow Bob on Facebook and Twitter. You see it on your screen. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at BT Boylan. And of course, we will have the Bayou Blitz on Wednesday. We hope to see you then. And of course, Bob and I will have articles throughout the week with the Saints News Network. Enjoy the second half. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night.